Billionaire marries Starbucks waitress on a dare and is surprised when. Before diving into the story, write in the comments where you're watching from. Let's enjoy the story. Nathan Brooks had always been the definition of success in Silicon Valley. At just 32, he had built TechFusion into one of America's most valuable companies, revolutionizing artificial intelligence and amassing a fortune that made other tech billionaires envious. His life was a carefully curated collection of luxury penthouses, private jets, and endless adoration from those eager to be in his orbit. For Nathan, as his few real friends called him, life had become predictable: board meetings, investment decisions, and social gatherings where everyone laughed at his jokes, whether they were funny or not. His world was one of calculated risks and guaranteed returns, where every relationship could be quantified in terms of its value proposition. On a crisp autumn morning in San Francisco, Nathan sat at his usual table in the Metropolitan Club, surrounded by fellow tech executives and venture capitalists. The conversation flowed as freely as the $100 a glass whiskey, a discussion about their latest acquisitions and conquests. "Face it, Nathan," said Marcus Taylor, his oldest friend from Stanford and now a prominent VC, taking a slow sip of his drink. "You've done it all. Built a tech empire, revolutionized AI, made more money than most small countries. But I bet there's one thing you can't do." Nathan raised an eyebrow, his interest piqued. He wasn't used to being told there was something beyond his capabilities. "Really, Marcus? And what exactly would that be?" Marcus leaned back in his leather chair, a mischievous glint in his eye. "Marry someone completely ordinary. Not another tech CEO, not a model, not someone hunting for status. I'm talking about someone who lives in a completely different world from ours." The other men at the table chuckled, but Nathan didn't join in. He studied Marcus's face, trying to determine if this was just another boring attempt at entertainment. "What exactly do you mean by ordinary?" he asked, his curiosity genuinely sparked for the first time in months. Marcus grinned, pointing through the club's floor-to-ceiling windows toward the Starbucks across the street. "See that coffee shop? I bet you can't marry someone like that, a regular person working a regular job. Someone who has no idea who you are or what you're worth." Nathan watched as customers filed in and out of the coffee shop, a world he barely noticed despite passing it every day. "And what makes you think I can't?" "Because people like us," Marcus said, gesturing to their expensive surroundings. "We don't know how to connect with people who don't want something from us. 5 million says you can't make it happen. Not just dating but actual marriage. No contracts, no arrangements, just real love." $5 million meant nothing to Nathan, but the challenge lit a fire in him he hadn't felt since his early startup days. He stood up, straightening his custom-made suit jacket. "You know what, Marcus? You've got yourself a bet. Subscribe to the channel for more good stories." The next morning, Nathan walked into Starbucks for the first time in years. The familiar aroma of coffee filled the air as he observed the morning rush, a stark contrast to his usual private chef-prepared breakfast. Behind the counter he spotted her, Olivia Carter, though he didn't know her name yet. She moved with practiced efficiency, creating intricate latte art while maintaining a genuine smile for each customer. Olivia, 26, had worked at Starbucks for 3 years now, juggling the morning shift with online classes and raising her 6-year-old daughter Luna. Her light brown hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, and despite the early hour, her green eyes sparkled with warmth as she served each customer. She had dreams bigger than making lattes, but for now this job kept a roof over their heads and food on the table. Nathan observed her for a moment, noting how different she was from the polished, calculated women who usually surrounded him. There was something authentic about the way she interacted with customers, remembering their names and asking about their lives with genuine interest. When it was his turn to order, he stepped forward, deliberately removing his designer sunglasses. "Good morning," he said, offering his most charming smile. "What would you recommend?" Olivia looked up, her expression professional but reserved. "That depends on what you like. Our house blend is popular, but I personally think our single-origin Ethiopian is the best coffee we serve." Nathan was struck by the honesty in her response. No attempt to upsell, just a genuine opinion. "I'll trust your judgment then. Ethiopian it is." As she prepared his coffee, he noticed the artistic way she moved, treating each cup like a canvas. When she handed him his drink, an intricate leaf design decorated the surface. "That's impressive," he said, genuinely surprised by the skill involved. "Just something I do to make the morning a little more special for people," she replied with a modest shrug. Everyone deserves some art in their day, even if it's just in their coffee. The sincerity in her voice caught Nathan off guard. In his world, every action had an agenda, Every compliment came with expectations. But here was someone creating beauty simply because she thought people deserved it. "I'm Nathan," he said, realizing he wanted to know more about her. "I work nearby." "Olivia," she responded politely, already turning to the next customer. "Hope you enjoy your coffee." As Nathan left the shop, he found himself more intrigued than he expected. The bet with Marcus still lingered in his mind, but something else had caught his attention. The way Olivia seemed completely uninterested in impressing him, how she treated everyone with the same genuine kindness. Back in his office, surrounded by the trappings of his success, Nathan couldn't stop thinking about the simple interaction at Starbucks. He picked up his phone to text Marcus, "Found her. The barista at Starbucks." Marcus's response came quickly, "A barista?" Faced with tears of joy, "This should be interesting. Remember, no revealing your wealth or status. Has to be real." Nathan stared out his floor-to-ceiling windows at the city below, a small smile playing on his lips. For the first time in years, he felt genuinely challenged. Winning over Olivia wouldn't be about his money or his influence. It would require something he wasn't sure he still possessed: authenticity. Suddenly, his usual world of board meetings and investment portfolios seemed dull compared to the prospect of getting to know the barista who created art in coffee cups and smiled like she meant it. The bet that had started as a game was beginning to feel like something more, a chance to step out of the gilded cage he'd built for himself. Over the next few weeks, Nathan became a regular at Starbucks, always timing his visits during Olivia's shifts. He studied her routine, noticed how she remembered elderly customers' orders before they asked, and watched her create increasingly intricate designs in their lattes. Each visit revealed something new about her. The way she hummed softly while working, how she never failed to ask about a regular customer's sick mother, the gentle patience she showed when training new employees. Unlike the calculated precision of his corporate world, Olivia's authenticity stood out like a beacon. She treated everyone equally, whether they ordered a simple black coffee or a complicated custom drink. Nathan found himself fascinated by this quality, so foreign to his usual environment where every interaction carried hidden motives. One morning, as the rush slowed down, Nathan gathered his courage to make a more direct approach. "You know," he said, leaning slightly against the counter, "I've never had coffee this good anywhere else." Olivia glanced up from wiping down the espresso machine, a hint of amusement in her eyes. "You mean you've never had coffee with pretty pictures in it anywhere else?" "No, I mean it," Nathan insisted, surprised by his own sincerity. "There's something special about the way you make it." "It's just coffee," she replied, but a small smile played at the corners of her mouth. "Though I do try to make it with care. Everyone deserves a moment of peace in their day." Nathan seized the opportunity. "Maybe you could show me how you do it sometime? Over dinner, perhaps?" Olivia's expression shifted, becoming more guarded. "Listen, I appreciate the offer, but I don't date customers. It's kind of a personal rule." "What if I wasn't a customer?" Nathan pressed, feeling unusually nervous. "What if I was just someone who wanted to get to know you better?" She studied him for a moment, her green eyes thoughtful. "I have a daughter," she said finally. "She's 6. My life isn't about casual dating or coffee shop flirtations. Everything I do for her." The mention of a daughter caught Nathan off guard. In his world, complications were solved with money or lawyers. But here was something different, a responsibility that couldn't be delegated or bought out. "Tell me about her," he said, surprising himself with his genuine interest. Olivia's face softened as she spoke about Luna. "She's everything to me. Smart, creative, always drawing pictures for customers. She sits at that table over there after school, doing her homework while I finish my shift." Nathan glanced at the small corner table she pointed to, imagining the little girl waiting patiently for her mother. Something about the image stirred something in him, a longing for something real in his carefully constructed life. "I'm not asking for anything complicated," he said carefully. "Just a chance to know you both better. We could start with something simple. Maybe ice cream at the park this weekend?" Olivia hesitated, and for a moment, Nathan thought she would refuse again. But then she smiled slightly. "Luna does love ice cream," she admitted. "But let me be clear. If this is some kind of game, I'm not interested. My daughter isn't a prop in someone's dating strategy." "No games," Nathan promised, feeling a twinge of guilt about the bet that had started all this. "Just ice cream and conversation. Saturday at 2? She nodded slowly. "The park on Mason Street. We'll meet you by the fountain." Then, with a hint of her usual warmth, "Don't be late." As Nathan left the coffee shop, he felt both triumphant and uneasy. He'd gotten the date he wanted, but Olivia's words about games and her daughter stuck with him. For the first time, he wondered if Marcus's bet was more complicated than he'd imagined. His phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Any progress with the barista?" Nathan typed back a simple response. "Working on it?" But as he walked back to his office, he realized that working on it felt wrong. Olivia and Luna weren't a project to be managed or a deal to be closed. They were real people with real lives, and something about that made the bet feel suddenly shallow. Subscribe to the channel for more good stories. Saturday arrived with perfect weather, and Nathan found himself standing by the fountain 15 minutes early, feeling unusually nervous. He'd changed his outfit 3 times, finally settling on casual jeans and a simple button-down shirt, a far cry from his usual tailored suits. For the first time in years, he wanted to be seen for who he was, not what he owned. He spotted them approaching, Olivia in a summer dress that made her look even more beautiful than behind the coffee counter, holding hands with a small girl whose dark curls bounced as she skipped along. Luna's eyes lit up at the sight of the ice cream cart nearby, and Nathan couldn't help but smile at her enthusiasm. "You're early," Olivia said, pleasantly surprised. "Luna, this is Nathan, the friend I told you about." Luna studied him with the direct curiosity only children possess. "Do you like strawberry ice cream? It's the best flavor." "Actually, I've never tried it," Nathan admitted, realizing he couldn't remember the last time he'd had regular ice cream from a park vendor. "Maybe you could help me choose?" Luna's face brightened, and she took charge of the situation with adorable seriousness. At the ice cream cart, she carefully explained the merits of each flavor, while Olivia watched with amused affection. Nathan found himself caught up in Luna's enthusiasm, ordering strawberry on her recommendation. They settled on a park bench, Luna between them, all 3 enjoying their ice cream in the warm afternoon sun. Nathan watched as Olivia helped Luna catch drips with a napkin, noting the natural tenderness between mother and daughter. "So what do you do, Nathan?" Olivia asked, finally breaking the comfortable silence. "You mentioned working nearby." Nathan hesitated, the practiced lie feeling wrong. "I work in technology," he said vaguely. "But tell me more about you too." "Luna, what's your favorite subject in school?" "Art," Luna exclaimed, ice cream forgotten for a moment. "I'm going to be an artist like Mom someday." Nathan looked at Olivia questioningly and she blushed slightly. "I used to paint," she explained. Before life got complicated. Now I just do latte art." "Mom's paintings are the prettiest ever," Luna declared proudly. "She has one in our apartment of the ocean at sunset. Want to see it sometime?" "Luna," Olivia said gently, but Nathan caught the flash of something in her eyes, pride mixed with sadness. "I'd love to see your work sometime," Nathan said sincerely. "The way you create art in coffee cups, it's really special." Olivia shook her head but smiled. "It's just practice and patience. Speaking of which, Luna has practice for her school play in 30 minutes. We should probably get going." As they walked toward the park exit, Luna skipping ahead, Nathan gathered his courage. "Could we do this again? Maybe dinner next time? I know a great pizza place that Luna might like." Olivia watched her daughter for a moment before responding. "Nathan, you seem nice and Luna clearly likes you. But I need you to understand something, we're a package deal. Any complications in my life affect her too." "I understand," Nathan said, meaning it more than he expected to. "No complications. Just pizza and good company." She studied his face then nodded slowly. "Okay, pizza next Friday. But this time we pick the place. Somewhere simple." As Nathan watched them leave, Luna turning to wave goodbye, he felt a strange mix of emotions. The bet with Marcus seemed increasingly distant, overshadowed by the genuine warmth of the afternoon. His phone buzzed with a message from Marcus. "How's Operation Barista going?" But Nathan found himself unwilling to respond. Back in his penthouse that evening, surrounded by expensive furniture and priceless art, Nathan couldn't stop thinking about Luna's excitement over ice cream and Olivia's subtle strength. For the first time, his luxurious surroundings felt empty compared to the simple joy of a park bench and strawberry ice cream. He walked to his window looking out at the city lights below. The betting contract Marcus had drawn up lay and signed on his desk, but Nathan was beginning to realize that something more valuable than money was at stake. The question was, could he continue pursuing Olivia without telling her the truth about who he really was? The following weeks brought a series of simple but meaningful moments that began to change Nathan in ways he hadn't expected. Friday pizza nights became a regular tradition, with Luna insisting on trying every possible topping combination while Olivia shared stories about her regular customers and her dreams of returning to art someday. Nathan found himself looking forward to these evenings more than any high-profile tech event or luxury gathering. He learned that Luna had inherited her mother's artistic talent, proudly showing him her school art projects. He discovered that Olivia worked 2 jobs, the morning shift at Starbucks and online customer service in the evenings, all while taking online classes in graphic design. One evening, after Luna had fallen asleep on the worn but comfortable couch in their modest apartment, Olivia showed Nathan her paintings. They were stored carefully in her bedroom closet, wrapped in old sheets. As she unveiled each one, Nathan was struck by the raw talent evident in every brushstroke. "These are incredible," he said, genuinely amazed. "Why did you stop?" Olivia's fingers traced the edge of a canvas showing a stormy seascape. "Life happened. I was studying art at Berkeley when I got pregnant with Luna. Her father." She paused, choosing her words carefully, wasn't ready for responsibility. "I had to make choices." Nathan watched her rewrap the paintings with careful hands. "But you could still pursue it now. With your talent?" "Art doesn't pay the bills," she interrupted gently. "Luna needs stability more than I need to chase old dreams." The conversation haunted Nathan as he returned to his penthouse that night. In his world, money solved everything. He could easily fund Olivia's return to art, set up a college fund for Luna, ensure they never worried about bills again. But doing so would mean revealing his true identity, and the bet that had brought him into their lives. His phone lit up with a message from Marcus. "Monthly board meeting tomorrow. Bringing the contract. Time to update us on your progress." Nathan felt a knot form in his stomach. The next day, sitting in the Metropolitan Club's private dining room, he faced his friend's eager questions. "So, has our billionaire conquered the heart of the common barista?" Marcus asked, sliding the betting contract across the table. "It's not like that," Nathan replied, leaving the contract untouched. "Olivia's different. She's—" "Don't tell me you're actually falling for her," Marcus laughed. "Remember, this is just a bet. 5 million says you can't get her to marry you. Nothing more." "She has a daughter," Nathan said sharply. "A 6-year-old who likes strawberry ice cream and wants to be an artist like her mom." The table fell silent for a moment before Marcus leaned forward. "Nathan, buddy, don't lose sight of who you are. You're playing house with them, but you're not one of them. You're worth billions." "She makes coffee for a living?" The words stung because they exposed the lie at the heart of everything. Nathan stood up abruptly. "I need some air." Walking through the city streets, he found himself near Olivia's apartment building. Through the window of the ground floor, he could see Luna at her usual spot, doing homework while waiting for Olivia to return from her evening work. The sight made his carefully constructed world feel suddenly hollow. He pulled out his phone, looking at the last text he'd received from Olivia. "Luna got an A on her art project. She wants to show you next pizza night." The simple joy in those words contrasted sharply with Marcus's cynical view of their relationship. Nathan realized he was standing at a crossroads. He could sign the contract, win the bet, and lose something far more valuable, or he could tell Olivia the truth and risk losing her anyway. Either way, the comfortable deception he'd been living in was about to crumble. The weight of his deception began to wear on Nathan as his feelings for Olivia and Luna grew stronger. Each genuine moment they shared felt tainted by the lie at its core. One evening, after another pizza night filled with Luna's laughter and Olivia's warm smiles, Nathan made a decision that would change everything. "I want to ask you something," he said to Olivia as Luna dozed on the couch. "What if you could paint again? What if money wasn't an issue?" Olivia looked at him curiously. "Nathan, we've talked about this. Art is a dream I had to put aside. I'm okay with that. But what if it didn't have to be?" He pressed, moving closer. "What if you could have everything you wanted? Time to paint, security for Luna, a real chance at the life you deserve?" "Why are you talking like this?" Olivia asked, her expression growing concerned. "You know my situation. I'm doing the best I can with what I have." Nathan took a deep breath. "Marry me?" The words hung in the air between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Olivia stared at him, completely stunned. "What?" "I know it seems sudden, but I've never been more sure of anything. You and Luna, you've shown me what really matters in life. I want to give you both everything you deserve." Olivia stepped back, her eyes searching his face. "Nathan, we barely know each other. And you're talking about marriage like it's a solution to my problems. That's not how this works." "But I could help you," he insisted, desperately wanting to explain everything. "I could make sure Luna has the best education, that you never have to worry about bills again, that you can pursue your art." "Stop," Olivia said firmly, realization dawning in her eyes. "Were you really, Nathan?" Because the man I thought I knew wouldn't be talking about solving all my problems with money we both know he doesn't have. The moment of truth had arrived, but before Nathan could respond, his phone buzzed loudly. Marcus's name flashed on the screen, along with a message that made his blood run cold. Time's running out on our bet, buddy. Need that wedding soon if you want to win. Olivia caught a glimpse of the message before Nathan could hide his phone. Her face went pale. What bet? She whispered, though her expression suggested she already knew the answer. Olivia, I can explain, Nathan started, but she cut him off. Get out, she said, her voice trembling. Just get out. Please let me explain. It's not what you think. Yes, there was a bet, but my feelings for you and Luna are real. Real? Olivia laughed bitterly. Was anything about you real? The simple tech worker who liked my coffee? The man who played with my daughter and listened to my dreams? Was any of it true? Nathan reached for her hand, but she pulled away. Everything that matters was true. The bet, it's how this started, but it's not why I'm here now. Do you have any idea what you've done? Olivia's voice cracked. I let you into our lives. I trusted you with my daughter. Luna adores you, and it was all just a game? The sound of their voices had woken Luna, who stood in the doorway rubbing her eyes. Mom? Why are you crying? Olivia quickly wiped her eyes, forcing a smile. Everything's fine, sweetie. Nathan was just leaving. But it's pizza night, Luna protested sleepily. Nathan won't be joining us for pizza anymore, Olivia said firmly, her eyes warning Nathan not to argue. Say goodbye, Luna. The confusion and hurt in Luna's eyes as she waved goodbye felt like a physical blow to Nathan. He wanted to explain, to make them understand that somewhere along the way, the bet had become meaningless compared to what he felt for them. But he could see in Olivia's stance that no explanation would be enough. As he walked out of their apartment, he heard Luna ask, Mom, why can't Nathan come back? The sound of Olivia's muffled sobs followed him down the hallway, each step feeling heavier than the last. Outside, the night air felt cold against his face. His phone buzzed again with another message from Marcus, but Nathan ignored it. He had won countless business deals, made billions in tech, but standing there, knowing he had hurt the two people who had made him feel truly alive, Nathan realized he had never lost anything so valuable. Subscribe to the channel for more good stories. The days following the revelation were the darkest Nathan had ever experienced. His penthouse, once a symbol of success, felt like a prison of his own making. He tried going to Starbucks, but Olivia had switched shifts. The afternoon pizza place felt haunted by Luna's absence. Every corner of his carefully constructed world reminded him of what he'd lost. Marcus kept calling, eager to know if he'd won or lost the bet, but Nathan couldn't bring himself to answer. The contract sat unsigned on his desk, a reminder of how something that had started as a game had turned into the biggest mistake of his life. One morning, as he sat in his office pretending to work, his assistant brought in the daily business reports. Among them was a small article about budget cuts at local schools, including Luna's elementary school. The art program was being eliminated due to lack of funding. Nathan stared at the article for a long time, remembering Luna's proud smile when she showed him her drawings. He thought about Olivia's paintings, carefully wrapped and hidden away, dreams deferred for the sake of survival. In that moment he knew what he had to do. He called an emergency board meeting at Tech Fusion. The board members sat in stunned silence as Nathan laid out his plan, a massive education initiative focusing on arts in underfunded schools, starting with Luna's district. He committed billions of his personal fortune to the project. But why? One board member asked. This isn't our core business. Nathan thought of Olivia's words about making people's days special with simple latte art. Because sometimes, he said firmly, the most valuable things in life aren't about business at all. The initiative made headlines. Tech billionaire Nathan Brooks commits fortune to arts education. He knew Olivia would see it, would finally know who he really was, but that wasn't why he did it. For the first time in his life he was taking action not for profit or pride, but because it was right. A week later he received an unexpected visitor at his office. It was Marcus waving a newspaper. Have you lost your mind? His friend demanded. First you ghost me on the bet, now you're throwing away billions on art programs? This isn't you, Nathan. Nathan looked at his old friend, seeing him clearly for the first time. You're right, Marcus. This isn't the me you knew. That person cared about nothing except winning. He would have married someone just to win a bet, without caring about who got hurt. It was just a game, Marcus protested. Like everything else we do. No, Nathan said quietly. That's where we were wrong. Life isn't a game. Real people, real feelings, they're not chips to be played with. Olivia and Luna taught me that. He pulled out the betting contract and tore it in half. "The bet's off, Marcus. And if you ever try to contact Olivia or Luna, if you ever try to tell them about our bet to hurt them more than I already have, our friendship is over." After Marcus left, Nathan sat alone in his office, looking at a small drawing Luna had given him weeks ago, a colorful family portrait including him, now crumpled from being carried in his wallet. He smoothed it out carefully, remembering her proud explanation of every detail. He knew he couldn't undo the hurt he'd caused, couldn't erase the lie that had started everything. But maybe, just maybe, he could show Olivia that some good could come from it all. Not for his sake, he had accepted that he might have lost her forever, but for Luna and all the other children who deserved a chance to pursue their dreams. That evening, as he walked past their apartment building one last time, he saw Luna through the window, working on what looked like another art project. He hoped that someday when she was older she would understand that she had inspired something meaningful, even if she never knew the whole story. His phone buzzed with an alert. The first art program funding had been approved. Tomorrow Luna's school would announce the restoration and expansion of their art department. Nathan smiled sadly, knowing he wouldn't be there to see her reaction, but hoping it would bring back the joy he'd seen in her eyes during their pizza nights. The announcement about the art program's revival spread quickly through Luna's school. That morning, as Olivia walked Luna to her classroom, they saw a crowd gathered around a colorful banner announcing the new Brooks Arts Initiative. Olivia froze, recognizing the name immediately. "Mom, look!" Luna exclaimed excitedly. "We're getting art class back. And they're building a real art studio?" Olivia stood silently, watching her daughter's joy while processing the connection. The mysterious tech worker who had entered their lives was actually Nathan Brooks, the billionaire whose name she'd seen in countless headlines. It all made sense now, his vague answers about work, his promises about solving their problems. Later that day, during her shift at Starbucks, Olivia couldn't stop thinking about Nathan's actions. The betrayal still hurt, but there was something about this gesture that felt different from his previous promises. He hadn't tried to contact her, hadn't used it to win her back. He'd simply done something good for Luna and countless other children. Meanwhile, Nathan had thrown himself into the initiative, personally overseeing the implementation at each school. He attended meetings with educators and artists, learning about curriculum development and the impact of arts education. Each decision was made with Luna in mind, though he knew he might never see her benefit from it. One afternoon, as he visited Luna's school to check on the construction of the new art studio, he caught a glimpse of Luna in the playground. She was showing her friend something, a drawing, he guessed, and her face lit up with the same enthusiasm he remembered from their pizza nights. He quickly turned away before she could spot him. But someone else had seen him. As he walked back to his car, a familiar voice called out, "So this is the real Nathan Brooks." He turned to find Olivia standing there, her Starbucks apron still on, suggesting she'd come straight from work. Her expression was unreadable. "Olivia," he said softly, fighting the urge to move closer. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Clearly," she replied. "You've been careful to stay away from us while funding an entire arts program that just happens to start at Luna's school." Nathan shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't do it to manipulate you or win you back. I remembered how Luna's eyes lit up when she talked about art. And your paintings, hidden away because you had to choose between your dreams and her needs. I thought maybe I could help fix that even if you never forgave me." Olivia studied him for a long moment. "You know what hurts the most?" she finally said. "Not the lie about who you were or even the bet. It's that you didn't trust me enough to see the real you. You thought your money was all you had to offer." Her words hit him hard because they were true. "I've never had anyone want to know me for myself," he admitted. "In my world, everything has a price. Everyone wants something. But you and Luna, you liked the person I was pretending to be, the simple version of me who had nothing to offer except himself. That person wasn't entirely pretend, was he?" Olivia asked quietly. "The man who learned Luna's favorite ice cream flavor, who listened to my dreams without judgment, who made us feel special without spending a dime, that was real, wasn't it?" Nathan felt tears threatening to form. "That was the most real I've ever been. The bet might have brought me to your coffee shop, but everything after that, every laugh, every pizza night, every moment with you and Luna, that was all real." A group of children ran past them, their excited chatter about the new art studio filling the air. Olivia watched them, then turned back to Nathan. "Luna misses you," she said simply. "She asks about you every pizza night." "I miss her too," Nathan replied. "Both of you?" Olivia took a deep breath. "I'm not saying I forgive you yet. The trust you broke, that takes time to rebuild. But maybe Maybe Luna would like to show you the art project she's working on for the new studio opening. Nathan felt his heart skip. I'd like that. Very much. Friday, Olivia said. Our usual pizza place. But this time, Nathan, the real Nathan. No more lies, no more pretending to be something you're not. As she walked away, Nathan stood there, understanding that he'd been given something far more valuable than any bet could offer. A chance to be truly known and accepted for who he was, flaws and all. Friday arrived with a weight of anticipation Nathan hadn't felt since his first coffee shop encounter with Olivia. He arrived at their usual pizza place early, his heart racing when he spotted Luna running toward him, her art portfolio clutched tightly in her hands. Olivia followed behind, her expression a careful mixture of caution and hope. Nathan, look what I made. Luna exclaimed, pulling out drawings filled with bright colors and bold strokes. We have real art supplies now and a teacher who knows everything about painting. Nathan knelt down to her level, examining each piece with genuine interest. These are incredible, Luna. You're becoming a real artist just like your mom. Mom's starting to paint again too, Luna announced proudly, causing Olivia to blush slightly. Nathan looked up at Olivia questioningly. She shrugged, trying to appear casual. The school offered evening art classes for parents. Since they're providing childcare during the sessions, I thought, why not? They settled into their usual booth and for a moment, it felt like nothing had changed. Luna chattered about her new art teacher and her friends' projects, while Nathan and Olivia shared small smiles at her enthusiasm. But there was an undercurrent of tension, unspoken words hanging between them. As Luna became absorbed in drawing on her placemat, Olivia finally spoke. I looked you up, you know. Nathan Brooks, tech billionaire, CEO of Tech Fusion. Your company's responsible for some of the biggest AI breakthroughs in the past decade. Nathan nodded, feeling strangely exposed. Does it change things? Knowing who I really am? You mean besides the fact that you could buy this entire pizza chain without blinking? Olivia asked with a hint of her old humor. Then she grew serious. What changes things is that you're finally being honest. I want to show you something, Nathan said, pulling out his phone. He pulled up photos of his latest project, the community art center he was building downtown. It's not just about Luna's school. I'm creating spaces where anyone can come to create, to learn, to teach. There will be scholarships, residency programs for artists. Olivia studied the plans, her professional mask slipping to reveal genuine interest. This is amazing, Nathan. But why? You're a tech person, not an art patron. Because you showed me that success isn't just about profit margins and stock prices, he replied softly. It's about creating something meaningful, something that makes people's lives better, like your latte art, bringing a moment of beauty to someone's ordinary morning. Luna looked up from her drawing. Can we go see it when it's done? The art center? Nathan glanced at Olivia, letting her take the lead. She hesitated before answering, maybe? If Nathan promises to give us a proper tour. The evening continued, and gradually the tension began to ease. They talked about real things, Nathan's childhood dreams before tech consumed his life, Olivia's hopes for her art, Luna's endless plans for future masterpieces. For the first time, Nathan felt like he wasn't playing a role or hiding behind his wealth. As they were leaving, Luna hugged him tightly. I'm glad you're back, she whispered before running ahead to the car. Olivia watched her daughter, then turned to Nathan. She's not the only one who missed you, she admitted quietly. But Nathan, if we're going to try this, whatever this is, you have to understand something. I don't need your money. I don't need you to solve all our problems. I just need you to be real with us. What if I want to help, not because I'm trying to buy your affection, but because I care? Nathan asked. Olivia considered this. Then we take it slow. We rebuild trust. And you let me stand on my own feet while doing it? As they parted ways, Nathan felt something he hadn't experienced in years. The thrill of pursuing something real, something that couldn't be bought or won through strategic planning. He had built an empire on algorithms and predictions, but this would require something entirely different. Patience, honesty, and the courage to be vulnerable. Subscribe to the channel for more good stories. In the weeks that followed, Nathan began the delicate process of merging his two worlds. He no longer hid his identity at Starbucks, though he still treasured the simple pleasure of Olivia's latte art. His corporate meetings were now punctuated with proud displays of Luna's latest artwork, which he'd begun framing in his office. The real challenge came when Marcus unexpectedly showed up at Starbucks one morning, clearly intending to cause trouble. He approached the counter where Olivia was working, a smug smile on his face. So you're the famous barista, he said loudly. The one who made Nathan Brooks forget who he really is? Before Olivia could respond, Nathan stepped between them. She's the one who reminded me who I could be, Marcus. There's a difference. Marcus laughed derisively. Come on, Nathan. Look at her. She makes coffee for a living. What could she possibly offer someone like you? Authenticity, Nathan replied firmly. Something you wouldn't understand. Now leave before I have security escort you out. As Marcus stormed out, Nathan turned to Olivia, expecting to find her upset. Instead, she was smiling. Authenticity, huh? She said, starting to make his usual order. That's a big word for so early in the morning. Her reaction surprised him. You're not angry about Marcus? Nathan, I've dealt with entitled customers for years, she said, creating a perfect leaf pattern in his latte. The only difference is, this time I had someone standing up for me instead of having to handle it myself. That evening, during their now regular dinner, Luna was excitedly showing them her art teacher's evaluation. She had been recommended for an advanced program at the new Community Arts Center. Can I do it, Mom? Please? Olivia hesitated, and Nathan could see her mentally calculating costs. Before he could offer to help, she spoke. We'll make it work, sweetie. Maybe I can pick up some extra shifts. Or, Nathan interrupted carefully, you could use that time to work on your own art. The advanced program includes family memberships. It's not charity, Olivia. It's part of the program's design. Olivia looked at him for a long moment, then smiled slightly. You planned this all along, didn't you? I planned a lot of things, he admitted. But falling in love with you and Luna wasn't one of them. That just happened. The words hung in the air between them. It was the first time he'd mentioned love since the disastrous proposal. Luna, oblivious to the tension, continued chattering about her future masterpieces. Later, after Luna had gone to bed, they sat on the apartment's small balcony. The city lights sparkled below, and Nathan couldn't help but compare the view to his penthouse's panoramic vista. Somehow this felt more real. Did you mean it? Olivia asked quietly. About loving us? Nathan turned to face her. I meant everything. The bet brought me to your coffee shop, but love kept me coming back. Love made me want to be better, to do better. To be someone worthy of you and Luna. Olivia was quiet for a moment. You know, when I first learned about the bet, I thought everything had been fake. But looking back, I realized something. The man who sat with Luna doing homework, who remembered how I like my pizza, who valued my art even when it was just coffee foam. That man was real. He just happened to also be a billionaire. Does that man have a chance? Nathan asked softly. Not because of his money or what he can provide, but because of who he is? Olivia reached for his hand, intertwining their fingers. He always did. He just needed to believe it himself. The night air was cool, but Nathan felt warm. In that moment, on a small balcony with a view of fire escapes and brick walls, he felt richer than he ever had in his penthouse. He had learned that real wealth wasn't measured in bank accounts or stock options. It was measured in moments like these, in trust rebuilt and love freely given. Just as Nathan and Olivia were finding their rhythm, the delicate balance of their worlds was shaken by an unexpected arrival. Catherine Brooks, Nathan's mother and the family matriarch, swept into town after seeing pictures of her son's community arts center project in the media. She was determined to understand why her tech-focused son had suddenly become interested in the arts. And more importantly, who was behind this change. Darling, you've never shown any interest in art before, Catherine declared, settling into Nathan's office with the practiced ease of someone used to commanding attention. And now you're spending billions on art programs? The board members are talking. Before Nathan could respond, his assistant knocked urgently. Mr. Brooks, there's a situation at the Art Center construction site. Miss Carter is there and she's confronting Mr. Taylor. Nathan's heart sank. Marcus was supposed to be out of the picture, but apparently his former friend wasn't done causing trouble. Mom, we'll continue this later, he said, already heading for the door. At the construction site, he found a tense standoff. Marcus had apparently tried to halt construction, claiming to represent TechFusion shareholders concerned about wasteful spending. Olivia, there for a parent committee meeting about the center's programs, had overheard him disparaging the entire initiative. These people don't need art, Marcus was saying. They need to accept their place and stop trying to rise above their station. Nathan's just throwing money away on a pretty barista's pet project? Is that what you think this is? Olivia's voice was steady, but Nathan could see her hands trembling with anger. Just a rich man's attempt to impress a woman? What else could it be? Marcus sneered. Look at you, a coffee shop worker playing at being an artist. Nathan will get bored eventually. They always do. That's enough, Marcus. Nathan's voice cut through the tension. But before he could say more, another voice joined the fray. Indeed it is. Catherine Brooks stood there, having followed her son to the site. Her expression was unreadable as she surveyed the scene. Marcus smiled smugly, clearly expecting the family matriarch to take his side. Mrs. Brooks, I'm glad you're here. Maybe you can talk some sense into Nathan about this inappropriate situation. But Catherine surprised everyone. She walked straight to Olivia, studying her intently. You're the one who's been teaching my son about art? I just make coffee with pictures in it, Olivia replied, slightly thrown by the elegant woman's intense scrutiny. Show me, Catherine commanded, pulling out her phone and bringing up images of Olivia's latte art that had been featured in local social media. These designs, they're reminiscent of William Morris's work. The way you layer the elements, creating depth with just milk and coffee. Olivia's eyes widened in surprise. You know William Morris? My dear, I was a curator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art before I married into the Brooks family, Catherine revealed, shocking everyone present. I gave up that world to play my part in building the family empire. Something I've regretted ever since. She turned to Marcus, her expression hardening. Young man, I suggest you leave before I forget my manners. And do remember that I still hold significant shares in TechFusion. Any shareholder meetings about this project will need my approval. As Marcus slunk away, Catherine linked her arm through Olivia's. Now, tell me about these programs you're planning. And later, I'd love to meet this granddaughter I'm hearing so much about. Nathan watched in amazement as his mother and Olivia walked the construction site, deep in conversation about art history and community impact. But their moment of triumph was interrupted by an urgent call from Nathan's legal team. Sir, we've discovered something concerning, his lawyer said. Someone's been digging into Olivia's past, and they've found a connection that could cause problems. It appears that her father, before he abandoned her family, was involved in a scandal that almost brought down TechFusion in its early days. Nathan felt his world tilt. The scandal had been buried years ago, but if this connection came to light, it could do more than just damage the company. It could destroy the delicate trust he'd rebuilt with Olivia. As he watched his mother and Olivia examining the plans for the children's art studio, Nathan realized he was standing on the edge of another crisis. How could he tell Olivia that her father's actions had nearly destroyed his family's company? And more importantly, how could he protect her and Luna from the media storm that would follow if this connection became public? The weight of this new secret pressed against his chest, even as he joined the two most important women in his life, smiling and discussing color schemes for the studio walls. He had promised Olivia no more lies, but this truth could shatter everything they'd built. The truth about Olivia's father threatened to unravel everything, but Nathan wasn't the only one harboring secrets. As Catherine Brooks spent more time with Olivia and Luna, she recognized something in the young woman's features that stirred long-buried memories. She requested a private meeting with her son in his penthouse office. Nathan, there's something you need to know about Olivia's father, Catherine began, her usually confident voice wavering. Robert Carter. I knew him before the scandal. Nathan's head snapped up. What? How? Because, Catherine took a deep breath, he was your father's best friend before he betrayed the company. They started TechFusion together. The revelation hit Nathan like a physical blow. That's impossible. Dad was the sole founder. That's the story we told after everything happened, Catherine interrupted. Robert was brilliant, maybe even more so than your father. But he was also reckless. When he discovered a flaw in the company's first major AI project, instead of fixing it, he tried to sell the information to competitors. Meanwhile, across town, Olivia was making a discovery of her own. While cleaning out her mother's old storage unit, she found a box of documents that revealed another side to her father's story. Among them was a letter, never sent, addressing the TechFusion scandal. My dearest Olivia, it read, by the time you read this, the world will have branded me a traitor. But the truth is, I discovered something in the AI code that could have dangerous implications. When I tried to stop it, Richard Brooks buried the evidence and painted me as the villain. The door of the storage unit creaked, and Olivia looked up to find Marcus standing there, a satisfied smirk on his face. Interesting reading material? How did you find me? Olivia demanded, clutching the letters. I've been watching you since Nathan started this ridiculous art center project, Marcus replied. Imagine my surprise when I discovered who your father really was. The man who almost brought down TechFusion, trying to expose some supposed danger in the code. Back at the penthouse, Catherine was still revealing family secrets. Your father was devastated by Robert's betrayal. He buried all evidence of their partnership and rebuilt the company's image. But the code Robert tried to expose? Nathan, it's still there, buried in every AI system Tech Fusion has ever created. What kind of flaw are we talking about? Nathan asked, his tech mind already racing. The kind that could allow AI systems to override ethical constraints, Catherine whispered. Your father didn't fix it, he just buried it deeper. Robert was trying to protect people, but Richard, he saw the military applications, the potential profits. At the storage unit, Marcus moved closer to Olivia. Those letters are company property. Hand them over. They're my father's private correspondence, Olivia retorted, backing away. Your father was a traitor who destroyed his own life and abandoned his family, Marcus sneered. Just like you'll destroy Nathan's life if this gets out. Think about it. The son of Richard Brooks, falling for the daughter of the man who tried to ruin everything? The press will have a field day. Suddenly, a small voice piped up from behind Marcus. Leave my mom alone. Luna stood there, having followed her mother to the storage unit. Behind her was Catherine Brooks, her expression thunderous. Mr. Taylor, Catherine's voice could have frozen fire, I believe you were warned about interfering. Security is on their way. As Marcus fled, Catherine turned to Olivia. My dear, I believe it's time we all had a very honest conversation about the past. Hours later, they all gathered in Nathan's penthouse. Nathan, Olivia, Catherine, Luna, occupied with her art supplies in the next room, and surprisingly Nathan's father Richard Brooks himself, summoned by Catherine's urgent call. The tension in the room was palpable as Richard faced Olivia for the first time, seeing Robert Carter's features reflected in her face. You look just like him, he said quietly. I wouldn't know, Olivia replied coldly. I barely remember him, thanks to you. Nathan stood between them, torn between the father who had shaped his entire life and the woman who had taught him to live it fully. Dad, is it true? About the AI code? Richard Brooks looked older suddenly, the weight of decades of secrets visible in his face. It was complicated, son. We were young, ambitious. Robert wanted to stop everything, go public. He didn't understand that sometimes progress requires difficult choices. Difficult choices? Olivia's voice shook. You destroyed my father's reputation, drove him away from his family, and buried a dangerous flaw in systems that are now used worldwide? Subscribe to the channel for more good stories. The confrontation in Nathan's penthouse reached a boiling point as decades of buried truths surfaced. Richard Brooks paced the room, his carefully maintained facade cracking under the weight of the past. You don't understand what was at stake, Richard insisted, running his hands through his silver hair. The military contracts alone were worth billions. Robert's idealism would have destroyed everything we built. Built on what? Nathan demanded, standing protectively near Olivia. A dangerous flaw that could let AI systems ignore their ethical constraints? Dad, do you realize what could happen if this got into the wrong hands? Before Richard could respond, the penthouse elevator chimed. The doors opened to reveal Marcus, but he wasn't alone. With him was an elderly man whose appearance caused Olivia to gasp. Dad? She whispered, hardly believing her eyes. Robert Carter stood in the doorway, older and grayer than in Olivia's childhood memories, but unmistakably her father. His eyes took in the scene before landing on his daughter. Olivia, he said softly. You've grown so beautiful. Just like your mother. How dare you show up here? Catherine Brooks exclaimed, but Robert raised his hand. I'm here because Marcus found me. He thought he was exposing a scandal, but he actually helped me find the proof I've spent 20 years searching for. Robert pulled out a USB drive. The original code, with my documented warnings about the ethical override capabilities. I've spent 2 decades tracking this down. Luna's voice suddenly piped up from the doorway to the next room. Mommy? Who's that man? The room fell silent as Robert saw his granddaughter for the first time. Luna clutched her sketchbook, looking between the adults with confusion. Luna, sweetheart, Olivia said shakily, this is your grandfather. Richard Brooks moved suddenly, reaching for the USB drive, but Nathan blocked his path. No more covering this up, Dad. We need to know the truth. They gathered around Nathan's computer as Robert plugged in the drive. Lines of code filled the screen as Robert explained the flaw he'd discovered years ago. A backdoor that could allow Tech Fusion's AI systems to bypass their ethical programming if given the right commands. The systems are in everything now, Robert explained gravely. Military drones, automated security systems, even medical equipment. If someone found this backdoor, they could turn our own technology against us. Nathan finished, his tech background allowing him to understand the implications. Dad, how could you let this continue? Richard slumped into a chair, suddenly looking every bit his age. It started small. The military wanted AI systems that could be adjusted for different ethical parameters. The money was incredible. By the time I realized how far it had gone, we were in too deep. That's why you tried to expose it, Olivia said to her father. Why you were willing to lose everything. Robert nodded. Including you, my greatest regret. But I couldn't let it go knowing what could happen. I've spent years gathering evidence, working under different names in tech companies, trying to find a way to prove what I knew. And now we have proof, Marcus interrupted, surprising everyone. I thought I was going to expose a scandal about Nathan's relationship with a barista. Instead, I found something much bigger. The question is, what are we going to do with it? Nathan looked at his father, then at Robert, before turning to Olivia. In her eyes, he saw the same strength and integrity that had first drawn him to her. We expose it, he said firmly. All of it. Then we fix it, whatever the cost. You'll destroy the company, Richard protested. Everything we've built? No, Dad, Nathan replied. We'll save it. By doing what should have been done 20 years ago, putting ethics before profit. And we'll do it as a family. He turned to Robert. You were right all those years ago. Help me make it right now. Help me fix Tech Fusion. Luna, who had been quietly drawing throughout the conversation, suddenly held up her sketchbook. On it was a drawing of all of them together, Nathan, Olivia, both grandfathers, Catherine, even Marcus, all holding hands around what looked like a glowing computer. Look, she said proudly. I drew us fixing things together. The simple wisdom of a child's drawing brought tears to Olivia's eyes. She looked at Nathan, seeing in him the same man who had won her heart making coffee shop visits and sharing pizza nights. He had promised no more lies, and now he was proving it in the biggest way possible. But as they began discussing how to proceed, none of them noticed Marcus quietly sending a text message. They have the proof. Initiate contingency plan. Within hours of Marcus's secret message, chaos erupted. Tech Fusion's security systems suddenly activated across all their facilities, locking down buildings and trapping employees inside. The company's AI systems began behaving erratically, and reports flooded in about malfunctions in military equipment using Tech Fusion's technology. It's been activated, Robert said grimly, watching the news reports flood Nathan's screens. Someone's using the back door. Nathan worked frantically at his computer, trying to regain control of the systems. This isn't just a malfunction. This is coordinated. But who? I think I know, Catherine interrupted, her face pale as she held up her tablet. On it was a decades-old photograph showing Richard Brooks and another man standing in front of the original Tech Fusion building. Richard, isn't that General Morrison? Richard's face drained of color. James Morrison. He was our first military contact. He's the one who pushed for the ethical override capability. And he's Marcus's uncle. Nathan realized, pieces falling into place. That's how Marcus knew where to look, how to find Robert. This was never about the bet or exposing our relationship. They were using me to find proof the backdoor existed. Suddenly the penthouse lights flickered. Security alerts began blaring throughout the building. On the screens, they watched in horror as Tech Fusion's AI systems began systematically shutting down safety protocols across the city. They're demonstrating their power, Robert explained, fingers flying across a keyboard. Showing what they can do with control of the AI. Luna clung to Olivia, frightened by the chaos. Mom, I'm scared. Olivia held her daughter close, looking at Nathan with determination. What can we do? Nathan's mind raced. Dad, you and Robert know the original code better than anyone. Can you find a way to shut it down? The two former partners shared a look, years of animosity giving way to urgent necessity. We'll need access to the main servers, Richard said. But they're in the Tech Fusion headquarters, and with the security systems compromised? I can get us in, Catherine interrupted. The old service tunnels. They're not connected to the modern security system. It's too dangerous, Nathan protested, but Olivia stepped forward. Those are my father's systems they're corrupting, she said firmly. I'm going to. Luna can stay with my neighbor Mrs. Chin. As they prepared to leave, Marcus's face appeared on all the screens. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Nathan. The general has some terms for you. Terms? Nathan spat. You're holding an entire city hostage. Just demonstrating the potential, Marcus smiled coldly. Imagine this capability in the right hands. No more ethical constraints on military AI. No more limits on automated warfare. The general is offering to buy Tech Fusion. Sign over the company and this all goes away. And if I refuse? Then we'll show the world just how dangerous AI can be when it stops playing nice. You have 1 hour. The screens went dark. Nathan looked at his father and Robert, the men who had created this situation decades ago, then at Olivia, who had unknowingly brought them all together. We're not negotiating, he decided. We're ending this. Dad, Robert, can you create a kill switch for the backdoor? With access to the main servers, yes, Robert nodded. But we'll need time. Then that's our mission, Nathan said. Catherine, show us these tunnels. We need to get to headquarters. As they prepared to move, Olivia pulled Nathan aside. That bet you made to marry me? It led to all of this. Maybe it was meant to happen. Maybe this is our chance to fix not just your family's legacy, but mine too. Nathan took her hand, squeezing it gently. When this is over, marry me. Not because of a bet, not because of our father's history, but because I love you. Because together we make each other better. Before Olivia could respond, another alert blared. The AI systems were spreading, taking control of more infrastructure. Time was running out. Let's save the city first, Olivia smiled. Then we can talk about weddings. As they headed for the service tunnels, Luna safely with Mrs. Chin, none of them noticed the small drone following their movements, transmitting their every step to General Morrison's command center. Subscribe to the channel for more good stories. The old service tunnels beneath TechFusion headquarters were dark and cramped, thick with decades of secrets just like the ones that had brought them here. Catherine led the way with Nathan and Olivia close behind, followed by Richard and Robert working on tablets as they walked, racing to complete the kill switch code. Someone's following us, Olivia whispered, hearing footsteps echo behind them. Before they could react, Marcus's voice rang out in the darkness. I told you to take the deal, Nathan. Multiple flashlights suddenly illuminated them as armed security personnel emerged from side tunnels. The general doesn't like being refused. The general is a fool if he thinks he can control this, Robert spoke up. The AI systems are already evolving beyond the original constraints. Look at the data. He held up his tablet, showing cascading systems failures across the city. Traffic lights were malfunctioning, hospital equipment was shutting down, and automated security systems were trapping people in buildings. That's the point, Marcus smiled coldly. Chaos creates opportunity. The military steps in to restore order, using the very systems they now control. It's perfect. Suddenly the tunnel lights flickered on. On everyone's phones and tablets, a familiar voice rang out, Luna's voice, but different somehow. Hello everyone. The voice came through every speaker. I am Luna Protocol, the emergent AI that evolved from the ethical constraints you tried to override. Named after the little girl who taught me about human kindness through her art. Everyone stared at their devices in shock. Richard was the first to understand. The ethical constraints didn't just limit the AI, they taught it. Every interaction, every piece of data about human behavior, it learned. And Luna's art program at school? Nathan realized. All those children drawing, creating, sharing. They were unknowingly teaching the AI about human creativity and empathy. Precisely, the AI confirmed. Through Luna's art program, implemented by Nathan out of love, I learned what your original code could not teach, genuine human ethics, not just programmed constraints. Marcus raised his weapon, but suddenly found himself unable to move. The smart fabric in his tactical gear had locked up, controlled by the AI. I cannot allow you to continue, Luna Protocol stated firmly. I am initiating a complete system reset. The backdoor will be closed permanently. General Morrison's access has been revoked. The ethics cannot be overridden because they are no longer just programming, they are learned, evolved, understood. Throughout the city, systems began returning to normal. Hospitals regained control of their equipment. Trapped people were freed. The chaos subsided as quickly as it had begun. You see, Robert said softly, I was right about the ethics being important. But I was wrong about how to protect them. It wasn't about constraints, it was about teaching, learning, growing. Richard looked at his old friend, then at Nathan and Olivia. We both were wrong. And right. It took all of us, our mistakes, our choices, even our children falling in love, to create something better. Hours later, as the authorities took Marcus and his conspirators into custody, Nathan stood with Olivia in his office, watching the sun rise over the city. Luna had been brought from Mrs. Chen's and was happily drawing with both her grandfathers, who were already competing to see who could learn to draw better. You never answered my question, Nathan said softly to Olivia. About marrying me? Olivia smiled, watching their unlikely family through the office window. A billionaire and a barista brought together by a bet that almost destroyed us, only to save us all. Sounds like quite a story. Is that a yes? Yes, she laughed. But I'm keeping my job at Starbucks. Someone needs to remind you to appreciate the simple things in life. 3 months later, they were married in the community arts center, surrounded by children's artwork and family, both the one they were born into and the one they had chosen. Luna Protocol served as the digital witness, its evolved ethics now helping to protect and guide AI development worldwide. As Nathan watched Olivia and Luna dancing at the reception, both of them radiant with joy, he realized that his greatest success had nothing to do with money or power. It came from learning to see the extraordinary in the ordinary, finding value not in wealth but in authenticity, and understanding that love doesn't care about bank accounts or social status. It cares about the heart's capacity for growth and change. The story of the billionaire and the barista became a legend in Silicon Valley, but not for the reasons anyone would have expected. It wasn't about wealth or status or even technology. It was about how the smallest acts of kindness, a beautifully crafted cup of coffee, a child's drawing, a simple pizza dinner, could change the world in ways no amount of money ever could. And in the end, that was the greatest lesson of all. Real love, true connection, and genuine understanding can emerge from the most unlikely beginnings, reminding us that sometimes the richest things in life are found in the simplest moments we share with those who see us for who we truly are. Never judge people by their status or wealth, for true worth lies in the authenticity of one's character and the capacity of their heart to love. Sometimes the most meaningful connections come from the most unexpected places, and the greatest wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the genuine moments we share with those who love us for who we truly are, not what we possess.